we talked about the EIR meeting, but with respect to the development agreement itself, before where are we with the development agreement from your perspective?
Well, we've basically commented on all the key areas and exhibits from the city. We're still waiting on their infrastructure and financing exhibit, which would include how they're going to establish the infrastructure financing district. These are important issues. They're issues that are bigger than even the A's. It's really something that needs to be determined for the entire region, and it can include the county, as people know. So I think that's the biggest outstanding item, and we're hopeful we can get that agreement at least to review as soon as possible, because the other items they've all sent us, whether it's affordable housing, community benefits, termination, non-relocation, we've commented, we've gotten it back to the city. So the city, our team worked over the holidays going through all those things, and we really need to get to the point where we can have a meeting of the minds on some of these outstanding topics.
So brass tacks, you don't have a price tag for tax increment revenue from the project right now.
We're waiting from the city on that. Yes, we're waiting. That's in the exhibit that they're going to supposedly send over. So that's something that we're going to need to put in our underwriting to determine exactly how the financing works, Zennie.
And so when do you expect to get that document?
Well, we've been waiting for some time. I'm hopeful. I know there's a lot of stakeholders on the city side that need to approve it before it's sent to us. We're hopeful in the next week here. That would be a really important milestone. And I think we would be able to better determine exactly where we are in the project and how close we are. Without that, it's a little hard to know. You're flying a little blind, Zennie.
So are they having new consultants figure out? Because Center Urban wrote a report Century Urban, wrote a report that should have been burned, with a candle and a wick. I've never seen a more awful report regarding what was supposed to be tax increment financing. Have they junked Century Urban's report then?
I really don't know. I know they have a variety of consultants, including them, and I think they have other ones as well. They have scores of outside counsel. So I think they have a team necessary to evaluate these things, and I think we're hoping that they can come to a positive resolution and get us something that we can digest.
Now, have they talked to you about, because let me get this straight. We are using an enhanced industrial financing district, right?
That is the intention. That's what we've been told, yes.
Okay, so if that's the case, every EIFD that has been done in the state of California, and Sacramento just completed theirs last year, has included a public financing authority and to form it an infrastructure financing plan. Has the city mentioned to you about either of those two objectives? And if so, when are we going to get them done?
I'm hopeful that comes in this exhibit that I was talking about. It has been mentioned, and I think those are both important aspects to making the project a success, both from a governance perspective, as well as an understanding of how the dollars are going to be used. Because you need to have a plan for how, the tax increment that's generated is invested in specific projects, the costs of those projects, who's going to manage those projects. And so those are all things that the city really is leading, and we're here to support them. And obviously we're generating all the taxes that do it. And hopefully we can get that more in the public eye as soon as possible. I think it'd be very important for taxpayers to see that.
Aren't you concerned? Oh, let me put it this way. I would be concerned that the amount isn't enough, or it may be more than enough to cover certain wish lists on the community planning, from the community planning effort, let alone the maritime effort. I mean, suppose they come all way with what they really should come up with was an estimate about 1.6 billion or north of that. I'm concerned that they're not going to do it right. Have you gotten any indication of what the cutoffs in terms of what will be paid for will be based on where it falls? Because Dave, to me, this is stuff, and I've said it before, we talked about sources and uses, that should have been done 2 years ago. And, all this cooks in the kitchen and stuff is just infuriating to me.
Well, that may be true. I mean, I think the reality is we are where we are, so we have to do what we can to get it across the finish line. And I think some of the concerns you have are valid. You're not the only person who've mentioned them to me. And I think what we're focused on is ensuring that everything is done in a transparent fashion, that people understand how the tax dollars that the project's generating are being used to reinvest in the community, and how that can be a community benefit for now and for future generations. And that's really the hope here. These are areas that have been underinvested in for probably 40 years. And this is the first time that these dollars are going to be expended, and hopefully they're done in a way that makes sense to everybody.
Now I want to ask a fun question. When are we going to see on one of those 3D models that we can sort of visually walk through? And I don't mean the ones that are CGI. I mean the old-fashioned ones where you can actually grab it and say, oh, this is cool. This looks like, beechwood or whatever.
That actually, we have some of those. Those kind of exist. It's just we haven't really brought them public. So I think in time, and I think over the next couple months, that'd be a fun thing for people to see so they can really immerse themselves in the project, in the streetscape, understand the scale of the buildings, the public infrastructure, and then just get a sense of how amazing the atmosphere is going to be on the waterfront with the space, with the park on the roof of the stadium, with all the energy of having the people gathering there, the hotel. I mean, there's just so many incredible aspects to the project. And I think, it's easy to lose sight of those things when you're in the midst of the negotiation or talking about all these other aspects. But that's the reason we're doing this, is because it's going to create an incredible transformative waterfront that I think will be a big benefit to Oakland residents.